it's Moose, and thank you so much for joining me back here. I'm back home in my own home. Hopefully Ethan will be back in the middle of November, and I had some college classes that started back this week, and my textbooks were here, so I had to come home anyways. So I am back home in front of my own bookshelf and not in my parents' kitchen. Today I thought we would do a little bit of a different video. I've seen kind of similar videos about, is this book worth all the hype and that kind of stuff. But today I want to do a video about books that have been hyped up that I'm not going to read. I'm not going to find out if they're worth the hype, at least not anytime soon to where they will be relevant. I definitely do not keep up with what is popular and what's in the booktube community. I just now read Illuminae. That book was hyped years ago, so I'm a little behind. Half of my TBR shelf are books that were hyped years ago on booktube that I just haven't gotten around to yet. And I don't necessarily like making negative videos, but I am in the mindset right now where I kind of want to work on the books I already have. I want to kind of knock down my TBR shelf a little bit before I start buying more. And honestly, right now, a lot of the books that are being hyped up, I just don't have that much interest in. So today we're going to talk about 4 books that have been hyped recently that I just don't plan on reading. Number 1 is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. The only book I have read by Rainbow Rowell is Eleanor and Park. And I read that book when I was in middle school. Now I am a college graduate. I'm in grad school working on my master's. So it has been a while since I read a Rainbow Rowell book. And at this point in my life, I was still kind of unsure about what my favorite genre was. So I kind of just read anything and everything. And my best friend Jessica loves Rainbow Rowell, and she actually recently read Wayward Son, and she enjoyed it. She liked it. But I just know my taste, and it doesn't interest me. So just the synopsis, what I've heard about this book, what I've gathered, is the 2 main characters kind of come to America, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a travel novel. I don't want to talk about it like I know what I'm talking about because I haven't read it. But from what I've gathered, it kind of seems like a travel novel where they go to different parts of the country. And there is magic in there, which I do enjoy. Fantasy is my favorite. They're described as magicians in the summary that I read, and from what I've heard people talk about. And to me, it kind of seems like a mix of like a contemporary fantasy, if that's even possible. Which isn't awful, but it's just, there's so many other things that I think I would actually enjoy, and I don't think I would enjoy this book. So I'm gonna have to pass. The next book that everyone has been raving about is Capturing the Devil by Carrie Maniscalco. I think is how you say it. I tried to read Stalking Jack the Ripper here a little bit ago, but a couple months ago. Another book that was sitting on my shelf that was way outdated in terms of how hyped it was. And by the time I got around to it, it was just kind of too late. The hype was gone. But that book was not for me. I didn't finish it. I ended up DNFing it. And I don't really know what it was. It just didn't draw my attention. Maybe I'm just not like a mystery person, like a mystery murder kind of person. Because from what I gather, that's kind of what these books are. Something happens and the main characters kind of figure out the mystery and they capture the bad guy and that kind of stuff, which is fine. And I know a lot of people like this kind of books, but I've never really read one that has really grabbed my attention and kept me engaged for the entirety of the book. The only thing I can think of that I actually enjoyed that kind of reminds me of this, and again, I haven't read this book, so I don't know if they're similar at all, but just based on the synopsis that I read, the only thing that I can really think of that I enjoyed that sounds similar is Caraval. To me, I really felt like Caraval was kind of a mystery book. Throughout the novel, I felt like we were trying to figure out what happened along with the main character. What was going on, that kind of stuff. And maybe I'm being completely unfair. Maybe I would enjoy this book. But based on the fact that I didn't even get into the first book, and a lot of people have said that's her worst book, to be fair, and that they have progressively gotten better. But I've seen this book. It's a honking thing. It is big, and considering I don't know if I'll like it, I don't have much confidence that I do, I'm not going to waste my time on it. So yeah, I will not be reading this one. The next book I want to talk about is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I think maybe, I really don't know how to say that last name, I'm sorry. This is the one book that I kind of wavered back and forth between putting in this video. Because at first I thought I would be interested when the hype first started surrounding this book. When it first came on BookTube and people started talking about it, I thought it sounded good. I thought I'd be interested in it, and I'm still not entirely adverse to the idea. Sometime down the road, I might read it and enjoy it, but right now, it's not on my priority list. I'm not gonna go buy a copy of it just so I can read it, you know? From what I've gathered, this is kind of like a love story type thing. So the guy in the book is part of like a church or something who basically hunts witches and kills them, and then he's forced to be with a witch, and so there's just that conflict of interest there, but somehow they fall in love. And I like romance in books, and I like the whole enemies to lovers kind of thing. So like I say, initially I did think I would enjoy this book, and I'm not completely adverse to this book. Just because I don't plan on reading it doesn't mean that I hate it or that I think it's awful or anything like that. And if you enjoy all of these books, one of these books, whatever, that's perfectly fine, and I'm so happy for you. I'm not the kind of reader that likes to dictate what others should and should not like just for me. And even with this book, it's not that I don't think I would like this book, because I think if I sat down and read it, I would like it. I just don't plan on reading it right now, if ever. By the time I would get around to it, the hype would be gone and it wouldn't really be relevant anymore, and new books are constantly coming out. And I'm not saying that's an excuse to not go back and read stuff that has been published, you know, previous to the hype. And like I say, there are plenty of books on my TBR right now that I plan on reading that were hyped years ago and aren't really relevant anymore. So maybe I will read this book eventually, but for right now, I don't plan on reading this book. The last book I want to talk about is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And this one might be the one I get a lot of hate for. A lot of people love Leigh Bardugo, and I even really enjoyed her Six of Crows duology. This book is different from what Leigh has written in the past. Instead of being a YA novel, this one is technically classified as an adult fiction novel, which I am not opposed to at all. If anything, I think my taste is changing the older I get, obviously, and I enjoy more adult fiction, more adult fantasy, that kind of stuff, which is another reason I'm trying to kind of tear down my TBR, because I'm afraid if I wait too long, my taste will change so much that I won't enjoy half the books on my shelf anymore. Since I bought them years ago when I was really into all of those kind of books. That's besides the point. The reason I'm not really interested in Ninth House is really mainly because of all the trigger warnings. And I have been very blessed in this life. I haven't experienced a lot of trauma or anything like that. So I don't really have a problem reading that kind of stuff. It doesn't bother me the way that it would a lot of people. I don't have that personal connection with a lot of stuff that happens in typical trigger warnings, you know. And if you are one of those people who have to watch out for that kind of stuff, I'm so sorry. For me, it's one of those deals where I'm in a good place right now. Ethan is hopefully coming home soon. Things are going good in my life so far, and that book is so big, and I knew it would take me so long to get through, that I really just don't want to read something that's going to make me sad for the characters and make me kind of antsy, you know, because from what I've heard, this book is kind of gruesome at times, and I really just don't want that to fill my head right now. Right now I'm reading Uprooted by Naomi Novik. It's not a heavy book at all. No trigger warnings or anything like that as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's not a strain on my happiness or mentality to read it, and I feel like this book would be a strain. So, quick summary of the book from what I've gathered. The main character, who I believe's name is Alex, is kind of offered a full ride to Yale, but not because of like any kind of academic skill or anything like that. She's basically kind of hired to kind of investigate the secret societies of the university, which in itself doesn't sound too bad. And a lot of people are raving about this book, but I just don't think it's for me right now. I'm happy, I want to stay that way, and I don't really want anything heavy weighing on me right now. So, as of right now, I do not plan on reading this book. But that's all the books I really wanted to talk about. That's really, I would say, the main books that have been hyped up here recently. One book I am excited for that has not come out yet, it comes out next month, that I think will be really hyped is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. It is the concluding book of the Folk of the Air series, I think is what it is. It is a fairy novel. It talks about the Fae, which I actually really enjoy. I was not exposed to anything in that realm until recently, until I first started my booktube channel. I read Margaret Rogerson. What was the name of that book? An Enchantment of Ravens. I don't know why I just blanked on that. I read An Enchantment of Ravens, which was like the first time I was ever exposed to the Fae. And I really, really enjoyed it. And so I read The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. Really enjoyed it. And now I'm really excited for The Queen of Nothing. I'm really hoping we get a Cardan redemption arc. I know a lot of people hate Cardan, and I totally get it, but I really want a redemption arc. I kind of doubt it. I don't really think it would fit his character that well. But I'll make an exception. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry, I don't really like making negative videos, but it was something I wanted to talk about. I feel like there's a pressure on BookTube to read the newest book that's being hyped up and put your own opinion out there and stuff like that. So this is my opinion on those books that I haven't read and I don't plan on reading. Let me know down below if you think I am completely wrong, if you really enjoyed these books, or if you think that I need to change my mind and maybe I should read them myself. I'm always interested to hear what people have to say, but don't be rude. Alright, don't be rude. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. We'll meet back here next time. See ya!